first ones to get that to work.
The microphone's going into it.
Come on, balance it out. Need some folks over here with the mayor. Hey, BPD, come on up.
You're way better dressed than me.
They're always so shy. Are we ready? Gentlemen, cut it out, Theo. He's the man. Everybody ready? Good afternoon, everyone. Commissioner William G. Gross. You know, it's a proud day today for us all here. I'd like to thank Mayor Walsh. You know, last year and earlier this year, you know, we had a tragedy, another tragedy avoided when it comes to not only the citizens of Boston, but the patrons of nightclubs and licensed premises. What was paramount is that we protect the citizens of Boston, whether they be patrons or not. They need our protection from predators. What was paramount as well is that we should be working together. We shouldn't have any odds, but work together to protect, again, the people in this city. So, the folks you see before you have worked collaboratively with the Boston Police Department and the Licensing Board to come up with best practices in public safety for nightclubs and other licensed premises. At this time, I'd like to say a personal thank you, not only to Mayor Walsh, but Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce of the Licensing Board, Theo Bogus, Declan Mahegan, Ed and Charlie Kane, Joe Dunn, Greg Stoller, Doug Bacon, as well as representatives from the Boston Police Department. These folks all worked hard. Superintendent Chief Long, Deputy Miller, Captain Detective Sexton, Sergeant Detective Billy Gallagher. This is all about working in partnerships, again, not to be redundant, but to protect our people. This is common sense. We all here have pride in our city, right? We have pride in what we do. This city began the nation, so we should be the leaders in protection and showing how it's done and working in a great collaborative to make sure that everybody has a great quality of life when they traverse our great city and into our licensed premises and our clubs and our restaurants. So with that being said, needs no introduction, but Mayor Walsh.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I want to thank everyone who contributed to this report today, including the Licensing Board, Kathleen Joyce, and the other board members, and our bars and nightclubs that are here with us today, and the ones that couldn't make it. We appreciate the willingness to work with us and share feedback. Here in Boston, we have a vibrant nightlife. We're excited that it draws people from all over our city and beyond. Going out in Boston should be fun, safe, and enjoyable, and it should be an experience that everyone has a good time with. But we've seen cases where, some cases where people are victimized. This past year, we tragically lost a young woman who was kidnapped outside the nightclub. And one tragedy is just too much to have to deal with. No one should feel unsafe in our city. So we're making sure that our bars, our nightclubs, and other establishments know how to improve safety and measure their patrons and their staff. As the Commissioner mentioned, BPD has been working with the Licensing Board, our bars, our nightclubs, and community on important public safety issues. The safety report will contain useful guidelines for both nightclubs and patrons to follow. And we're going to get the information out on the City of Boston website, on the Boston Police website, and the bars and restaurants and other establishments will also get the information out there. We have a responsibility to help create a safe and secure environment, whether it's nightclubs installing more surveillance cameras or bars training their staff to look out for inappropriate behavior, something that is really important here. Or our patrons looking out for one another and practicing if you see something, you say something. Communication with the police department is it's critical. We have many establishments that take patron safety very seriously, and I want to thank them for that. And we all hope that all owners of licensed establishments know that they should not hesitate to call 911 if they see anything or anyone suspicious around their establishment. Collaboration is certainly key to preventing harm or generating an immediate response during a critical incident. We hope that this report will be a useful resource for everyone who enjoys the nightlife in Boston. We have some special goals in this report to protect the health, safety, and well-being of every single person, and we want people to continue to spend time in our city while having fun and being safe. And I just want to thank the nightclubs and the licensing board in particular. After a couple incidents in our city, they got together, and they've spent the last several months going over not just this document, but really going into this document with a fine-tooth comb and coming up with some real safety procedures in place. And I think that, hopefully as we move forward here, we will prevent any incidents from happening, what we've seen over this last summer and fall. And I look forward to everyone working together. I also want to just thank the press for being here today, because you are the outlet which will bring this issue back to the forefront. And a lot of people will be able to get the information that you're reporting on today. So thank you for covering this today. And now it's my honor to introduce to you the chairwoman of the City of Boston's Licensing Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to you and to the Commissioner for your dedication and commitment to taking the necessary steps forward to ensure the safe experience of all of our residents who visit our nightclubs and other establishments in the city. At the Licensing Board, we are responsible for regulating food and alcohol licenses for restaurants and other establishments, and we're also responsible for holding public hearings for any incident that occurs on our licensed premise. The Licensing Board is committed to streamlining and refining our own processes as we work together to ensure the public safety of everyone at our establishments. Licensees should not view possible disciplinary action by our board as a reason not to call Boston Police. We are fully supportive of the recommendations being made today in this report, and I want to thank the various licensees that are here for their collaboration and their willingness to bring these regulations and improvements to their own establishments. As the mayor and the police commissioner said, everyone here today shares the same goals, that is to protect the health, safety, and well-being of everyone in this city. I look forward to these recommendations being implemented in Boston. I thank everyone here for prioritizing the safety of our residents.
Any questions for anybody on topic first?
Sure. At the license premise violation hearings that you guys have often, there are a few people who are establishments that are always there, but nothing ever seems to happen to them in terms of shutting them down. There's been some, even last April, there was sexual assault and a riot out in the street. Does this address that issue as well?
I'm not sure what you're referring to about last spring, but
That's what
I'm not really sure of that incident. We have hundreds at a time.
they're on there all the time.
And we have progressive discipline, and we work with the licensees. I think our number one priority is the public safety, and I think that starts with proper communication and then working with the licensees to help improve their rules and regulations so that everyone's safe who enters. I can't speak to a particular violation or a particular incident.
And as well, one of the reasons we came up with this guide is for a better form of communications. Oftentimes, the licensed premises will give us a call, and then what gets out there is like, hey, they were written up. A lot of times, they're calling us to help themselves out so that they can help the patrons and to stop violence or help someone out. But unfortunately, that moniker was put out there as like, hey, they were written up, and everyone takes that in a negative way. So again, we've worked on that. If you call us and you're doing the right thing, that will definitely be taken into consideration. But one of the complaints last year when we met at the Iron Workers, thanked them for that venue, was that, hey, we call you, but then we're so-called written up. And that should not be the case. And that's kind of a prime example. If folks are fighting in the street, right, and these folks here call us, they've done the right thing, and they shouldn't be punished for that. The people that are fighting in the street should be punished, not the licensed premise owners. So, and again, if you're called before the licensing board, we actually question what went on. what took place. So they shouldn't be deemed as guilty because something occurred outside that wasn't under their control. But again, this is about working in partnership, learning from whatever happened in the past, and moving on forward in the future. That includes technology. We'd like for everyone to have technology that can help us out in investigations. And I'd be remiss as well if I didn't thank the transit police, Chief Green, and our investigations before, as well as FBI Special Agent in Charge Bonavolanta, District Attorney Rachel Rawlings, just our state, local, and federal law enforcement are also working in partnership, including the state police. Because if something happens to one of our patrons, one of our citizens, and it goes across the lines outside of Boston, we should be working with our state, local, and federal. You know, I've talked to Colonel Mason, the state police, and we're all in agreement and partnership. This is about protecting the Commonwealth of Mass.
Any particular case that you might have, if you grab us afterwards, we can look up a particular incident or a time frame, just let you know. But as the chairwoman said, I just asked her, we certainly do suspend premises for different events, different violations, depending on if they're found responsible for those violations, depending on what it is. So if you have a particular time, fine, let us know. We'll get the information. Yeah.
Mayor, could you talk about one or two of the most tangible changes in this? What's it going to look like for people who run nightclubs? What are the most tangible things?
I mean, I think I'll let either the chairwoman or the commissioner talk about it first. But this is a guideline. This is an outline for people to really kind of, you know, there's a lot of indirect responsibility here. There's a greater responsibility on our owners of establishments. There's a responsibility of the patrons in making sure they look out for one another. Unfortunately, after the two incidents that happened in Boston, both myself and the commissioner were on TV, and we're asking people to kind of, you know, make sure I got in trouble actually saying, don't leave don't leave an establishment by yourself. Partner up and do that. So I think it's about a little bit of responsibility, making sure we kind of keep an eye out for your friends, making sure that we're not over-serving folks that when they're leaving, and when you're with your friends, that if somebody's leaving an establishment, making sure they have a safe way home, that there's a responsibility there. So part of that's in here. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything else.
All I want to add is that I think a lot of what you see in the guidebook today is there are things that our licensees already were doing on their own. I think this exercise has allowed us to communicate better amongst the board and amongst our licensees. I feel confident that our licensed premises really do their best to ensure the public safety. And I think a big part of this was demystifying the process of what happens with our board. I think people were under the misconception that calling the police and getting an incident report, which led to a violation hearing, automatically meant you were going to be disciplined, and that's not the case. I spend a lot of time reading through these incident reports, looking into the facts that are behind them to make sure that these rise to the level of even qualifying for a hearing. And then the hearing is an opportunity for the licensees to tell us the information that didn't make it into the incident report. And a lot of times, the stuff in the information in the incident report doesn't tell the whole story. So I encourage the licensees to come with confidence and to bring additional information that we couldn't capture just in one night when our inspectors went out to follow up on an incident.
Just to follow up on that question, if I could ask you, a more concrete example perhaps of what employers, employees, patrons can do to protect each other. I mean, you know, what are they looking for? What should they look out for to protect themselves?
Well, let me just, first and foremost, I mean, the establishments that are here today, they came to the table right away. There's a lot of establishments in our city that aren't part of the conversation, whether they chose not to be or they just run a different business. And I think it's about sharing information and getting all of them on the same plate, getting on them on the same page. I think that's a key point. I don't know if anyone has a specific in the you want to talk about. Everyone's shy. Everyone's shy.
I think you hit it on the head.
I think, I mean, I'll give you an example. Making sure that employees understand the importance of identification, IDing people when they come in, making sure that every establishment's on the same page. I think when it comes to surveillance cameras, where we don't have them, to make sure that everyone has the same type of enforcement that's on this in the different areas. I think that, I don't know if they call them bouncers anymore, but years ago, there's a certain standard for people who are IDing people at the door and making sure that no one gets unruly inside. Having people trained in that, so that we're not having situations where patrons get into an argument and they're being thrown out the back door. Situations like that. I think it's having consistency in the industry. That's probably the biggest thing that will come out of this, having consistency in the industry, that every establishment is treated the same way, but every establishment understands as well that they're treating their patrons the same way. And the bottom line here is, I have no problem how much money the establishments make in the city of Boston or how successful they are. The bottom line is that when they're open, that the patrons that go in there are safe when they get there, they're safe when they get home, and we don't have a situation in the city of Boston where somebody has been taken against their will.
And off of that, do you have a sense of how many establishments already have similar policies when it comes to security staffing or security cameras, things of that nature?
No, we don't have that. Don't have that answer.
You mentioned IDs. I know one of the issues that the license holders keep bringing up is that it's so easy to get really realistic looking IDs online for like $100. Is there anything that the city is doing to help the licensees, like that fake IDs?
I think the technology is changing constantly, and I think our licensees have told us their experiences with that. It's becoming more and more sophisticated. So with their ID scanners, it's just a question of keeping up with the latest technology, subscribing to these companies that have all these updates.
And that responsibility honestly falls on the premises. I mean, it's not the city's responsibility to make sure that they have the proper equipment. They're the ones responsible for letting patrons inside their facilities to use their facilities. And not that I'm passing the buck, but I think that, I mean, these facilities want to make sure that they're serving somebody who's 21 and older than 21 in there, because they know that there's a whole series of other repercussions that can happen if something goes bad in there.
Okay. Thank you, folks. We have copies of it if we're ready to go on.
But they'll like, if they're not,